This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, this is the Lionheart moment brought to you by the Glazov Gang. Today I'll be speaking to you about Lucifer, lies, and lust in light of the Muslim paradise. And I feel that it's very important that we understand what it is that is driving the Muslims to do the things that they do that we consider to be radical or extreme. And some of those things include murder, rape, lying, deception, stealing, invasions, warfare, you name it. Every conceivable type of craftiness that a person will do in order to achieve an end goal is done by the Muslims. And this has no moral integrity in it, because their attitude towards attaining a goal that we often see in the news is something that is sanctified by their deity. And this deity is referenced as Allah in the Quran and in the life and practice of Muhammad that has been compiled, known as the Sunnah. So with that, I think it's very important that we examine where this originated. What is the drive? How did Muhammad motivate his followers that were there with him at the time, and those that are following him today through the reading of his life in what's called the Sirah literature, the biography of Muhammad? Some of that comes basically, as the title of this short presentation tells you, Lucifer. We have to recognize and not ignore the reality of a religion that believes in a devil. And this comes from the influence of the Judeo-Christian faith, which speaks of a demon or a fallen angel known as Lucifer. Lucifer rebelled against God. He was kicked out of heaven. He continues to rebel today. And in the spiritual sense, he is leading a rebellion against God and his people. And so this is what has influenced Muhammad. One of the most telling scriptures or references in the Islamic scriptures is the fact that Muhammad references his deity as the greatest deceiver, the greatest of the makarin, of the shysters, those who who craft and who conspire to do wickedness, to do evil, to deceive those who he's dealing with. And so that in and of itself is enough for us to have to stop, question what it is that Muhammad taught his followers in light of what he said he was receiving as a message. Because we have to remember that Muhammad himself believed that he was demon possessed. The Quran tells us in many places that Muhammad would run to one of his wives, ask her to cover him. He was known as the sheeted one. And so, because time is of the essence here, I just want to get right into some of these areas within the Quran, within the Muslim commentators, scholars, and the Sirah literature, the biographies and the hadiths. These are the narrations of the followers, the family members, and the companions of Muhammad. These are supposed to have been eyewitnesses that were handed down by narration, the accounts. And so with that, I want to look at some of these things that Muhammad said were inspired. And some of those are the references to the Muslim paradise. You have to consider or think about Muhammad being in the desert. There's no water, or very little water, very little food. There's heat. There's a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of warfare. And so Muhammad, after 13 or so years of trying to gain a following through simply preaching his message, peacefully or sometimes antagonistic, but not violently, he got very few converts. So it wasn't until he gained a following and was able to enforce his worldview upon others, and also through deception by the promise of certain things that would appeal to the people of the desert. And those things were rivers of wine. Now, what could be better than to enjoy rivers of wine in a desert land, in a barren land? What could be better than to enjoy a harem, where you have all the sexual pleasures you can enjoy with your wives or your concubines? What more could you want in a place of poverty but wealth? And so Muhammad appealed to these natural desires that we have, which are of survival, of a sexual drive, of a desire for better things. And so when Muhammad was receiving certain revelations, in order to motivate those who he wanted to convert to the religion, he would offer them these things either in this life or in the life to come. So we see that Muhammad would tell them that if they did not gain these pleasures, all of these possessions, the plunder of the booty from the raids of the caravans, from the invasions of other lands, from the warfare that he started, that they would get them if they were martyred. And we often hear of the 72 huris, or the 72 virgins that a Muslim martyr has been promised. But we will see that not only were the martyrs promised these 72 huris or virgins, but so were any Muslims or Muslim males that would enter paradise, according to Muhammad. And I do apologize in advance for some of the terminology that will be used. My intent is not to be vulgar. My intent is simply to give you the record as it's recorded in Islamic literature, as it's presented in translation by Muslim scholars themselves. And in one of these places that we read concerning Muhammad's promises of the afterlife, we read that a Muslim can have whatever he wants. This is very much in opposition to the Judeo-Christian teachings of heaven, where it's not whatever we want, but it's whatever we desire that is in conformity to the righteousness of Yahweh. Here with Muhammad, it was that which was in conformance with the person's desires, with their lusts. And just as Lucifer, who became a fallen angel and is now known as the devil, the deceiver, his lust drove him apart from the Creator. And we see that Muhammad did not attain any kind of comfort. He did not attain any kind of peace or security with the true and the living God. But that which he believed to have been a revelation from his deity only offered those carnal desires that we frown upon when a man indulges in them in this life. And we see in chapter 41, verse 31 of the Quran that Muhammad said, "We are your protectors in this life and in the hereafter. Therein shall you have all that your souls desire. Therein shall you have all that you ask for." And there's no qualification for that. What are some of these things that they will receive when they get to paradise? Well, there's the promise of sex with huris. There's the promise of sex with young boys. There's the promise of wine. There's the promise of all the food one can eat. And you have to remember, a lot of these things are in contradiction with one another, because a man involved in perpetual sexual activity with his brides or his concubines cannot possibly go then and enjoy the food and the wine that is offered unless he's enjoying all these things in some form of orgy all simultaneously. So we have to remember that there is no rhyme or reason to the things Muhammad taught. He simply was speaking to people that were possibly most probably ignorant of the teachings of the Jews and the Christians in as far as sound theology is concerned. They probably were illiterate, many of them. Maybe some were not. But they did not see the contradictions until many years afterwards, after the Quran was compiled, over 100, some say 200 years after Muhammad's death, that the Quran was finally standardized, compiled, and we could see all of these different narrations side by side and realize what a contradiction these things were. So we see also in the Quran in chapter 52, verses 17 through 20, they will recline, these are the men in the Muslim paradise, on thrones arranged in ranks, and we shall marry them to huris, fair maidens with wide lovely eyes. There they shall pass from hand to hand, a cup free from any intoxicants. Now, I don't know what type of wine Muhammad was offering that is free of an intoxicant. That would basically make it grape juice. We do realize that wine, by a proper definition, does have intoxicants. It will get you drunk if you drink too much of it. Muhammad said in chapter 37, verse 40 through 48, they will sit with bashful, dark-eyed virgins, as chaste as the sheltered eggs of ostriches. And I'm going to go through these quickly, so take out your pen and pencil and write down the references as quickly as you can, or just refer back to the video and note these down so you can reference them yourself. Quran chapter 44, verses 51 through 55. Yes, we shall wed them to dark-eyed huris. Now, there are different views of what the huri is exactly. Are they the women from here on earth? Are they women that were created specifically in paradise for the Muslim man that are not really human women, but simply sexual objects? That I leave up to the scholars to debate. We What we do have clearly is that they are sexual objects for the Muslim males. We also have here in chapter 55:72 that they will be guarded, the Houris, in pavilions. So basically what Muhammad is promising is that a Muslim male will have tents of women that he can visit, make his rounds. And as he's making his rounds, as we will see in the narrations and the quotes, they will be perpetual virgins. So after Muhammad or his followers have had sexual intercourse with these women, by the time they get back around to the women again, they have become virgins again. And there's a narration that speaks of the males having a perpetual erection. This is something that we have to realize is just foreign to the Christian concept of heaven, where the Bible really clearly teaches that there will be no sexual activity in heaven. But Muhammad had other views. It says here inside the Hadiths that every man who enters paradise shall be given 72 Houris, no matter what age he died in. When he is admitted into paradise, he will become a 30-year-old man and shall not age any further. A man in paradise shall be given the vitality equal to that of 100 men. So we can forget about Viagra. Allah is going to give the Muslim males eternal erections. And this is so that they can enjoy these Houris perpetually, forever. According to Sunan ibn Majah, it is stated by Abu Umama, narrated, the Messenger of God said, everyone that Allah admits into paradise will be married to 72 wives. 2 of them are Houris, and 70 of the inheritance of the female dwellers, all of them will have libidinous or excessive sexual drives, and he will have an ever erect penis. This is in Sunan ibn Majah, Book of Abstinence, number 39. This is a very large contradiction, again, to the Christian worldview, where we see that the Christian heaven is a place of absolute righteousness, absolute purity, where we will worship our Lord. God will create a new heavens and a new earth in which there will be a new government established, where there will be no lust, there will be no sexual desires that lead us to fornication or that lead us to go from our wives to our Houris to our sex slaves. We also can see that according to Muhammad, what occupies the Muslims and the Muslim paradise is a continual lust of males or with females or of males with young boys. This is narrated by Tirmidhi. Allah's messenger said, the martyr receives 6 good things from Allah. He is forgiven at the first shedding of his blood. He is shown his abode in paradise. He is preserved from the punishment of the grave. He is kept safe from the greatest terror. He has placed on his head the crown of honor, a ruby which is better than the world and that which it contains. He is married to 72 wives of the maidens with large dark eyes, and is made intercessor for 70 of his relatives. It is recorded that if he does not desire those Houris, according to Guliam, in Surah chapter 52, verse 24 of the Quran, he can go to the promise of young boys like sparkling diamonds, beautiful boys that have smooth skin. Again, this is very foreign to the Christian and the Jewish concept of heaven or paradise. We can see that the Muslim male will do his rounds. Round about them will serve them 300 naked boys. According to the Quran, this is something that is acceptable. Muhammad was contrary to homosexuality, but the concept of a grown male taking the young male and using him for sexual gratification was not considered homosexuality. So we have to realize that we have a whole different mindset here when we're dealing with Islam. We have to remember that even today, Muslims are practicing this in what's called Butchabaka, the dancing boys of Afghanistan, where today, as I'm speaking, there are young boys being dressed up like women, being dressed up in makeup with jewelry, and they are paraded in front of older Muslim males, and they are sold off, prostituted for their sexual gratification. We can see that according to Muhammad, in his paradise, there will be all the rivers, there will be rivers of wine, there will be Houris, the sexual concubines, there will be his wives, and there will be all the meats, all the foods that his lust can take in. This is not Christian. This is not Jewish. This is Islamic. And the Muslim faith, the Muslim religion, is nothing like the Christian or the Judeo religion. Muhammad said that within the concept of jihad, there's a promise of paradise. If a Muslim is martyred, if he dies and he inherits that bliss in his paradise, he is going to be rewarded with whatsoever he desires. Those desires, again, include, as I've read from the Quran, as I've read from some of the Hadiths, and again, because of time, we are constrained. I can't give you all the references. I can't give you all of the narrations, but these are accessible. They're available. They're in the books. You can see in the background some of the books I have on my shelf behind me. I have these books that I reference. We don't have to wonder if this is just opinion, if this is conjecture. This is Islamic theology, and this is what the Muslim martyrs are dying for. It is a lie from the devil to Muhammad, to his followers. This is why we deal with Lucifer, lies, and Muhammad's paradise. This is deception. This is Lucifer, lies, and everything that is conceivable in hell is what we're dealing with. There is nothing pleasant about the Muslim paradise. It is something that is abhorrent to a righteous person, a person of a sound mind. And so what I would welcome you all to do is to subscribe to the Glazov channel on YouTube, and to go to jamieglazov.com and subscribe to this channel. You will see other videos. You will get more information. You will get educated. You will learn the facts about Islam and about Muhammad, so that you might adequately engage them in dialogue and hopefully deliver them from the deception they're in. And in that case, you will have saved a soul from the perils of eternal perdition. Thank you very much.